Hello, and welcome to the Grand Cinema Hotel, a podcast hosted by three friends who love cinema. I'm Gus, and I'm joined with my co-host Alvaro. Tonight you'll be staying in room 138, Nope, the newest UFO blockbuster directed by Jordan Peele. So go ahead, get comfortable, and throw on that Do Not Disturb sign as we look to the skies with Nope.
No. Nope. 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 Mm-mm.
Nah. No. Nope. No. No. Nope. Hell no.
What's going on, all you Hollywood horse ranchers, and thanks for checking back into the Grand Cinema Hotel. I'm not even going to get into all of the like and subscribe stuff today because that's not important. What's important today is that we are a man down for the first time on the pod. I'm here with Alvaro today. Nate is missing. Slightly under the weather, and I gotta say, it feels weird to be doing the intro myself. How do you feel about doing this episode without Nate?
Yeah,
and I know we miss him, obviously.
Yeah, definitely. The table feels a little empty here. You know, it feels like we're gonna have to do this mission just with the man down. But you know, we're gonna try to give you guys the same quality of show. We're gonna try to fill in that energy that he does so well. I think Gus did the intro as best as he can.
My best Nate imitation.
You know, but we're gonna try to give you guys, you know, the newest film that we got for you guys, which is Nope by Jordan Peele. Do you have anything else you wanted to?
Other than I miss Nate dearly.
Yeah.
I wish we had the tech to do like a Nate bot. We could have FaceTimed him. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But I honestly think he's probably not in the mood to be bothered right now with this. But I know, I honestly, you know, I don't even know what his opinion is of this movie.
Exactly.
Really.
So that's why it's a little.
Do you? I mean, we don't want to speak for him, obviously. But
I don't. And that's why we were a little interested. We always try to keep it fresh for you guys and not kind of talk about it. This was another one we didn't all see together. So I don't even really know how Gus feels about it.
Yeah,
exactly. Besides generally, so that's what we're saving for you guys. But Nate, hopefully, we know in one of the next episodes we get his takes on it, some of his hot takes on what he might think about it.
Is this our first part two? Huh? Do we have to have a whole nother episode just for Nate to get off these hot takes?
Yeah,
which I don't even know if they're going to be hot takes or not. But I believe in my boy Nate that he likes this movie.
I think we can give him the solo mic. You know, give him on a 20-minute rant. Let him take out everything he would have said on the pod. But
so
yeah,
leading into the movie itself, I had a great time watching this movie. I have not got to see many movies this summer, but I don't think it's a far stretch to say that this is probably one of the better movies of the entire year so far. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it might be for sure the best summer blockbuster out there right now.
Even after Top Gun?
For sure. Yeah, I think so, personally. Ooh. For me. But you know, Top Gun's a tremendous film, but I think this being not a sequel, not a legacy sequel, an original idea, how many butts there were at the theater, you know. A lot of times we go and watch these other movies and we're like the only people there. But not for this, you know, as early as the earliest showings we're having, it was pretty packed in there. Kind of started worrying about getting sick and stuff like that. You know, I was like, man, I should have worn a mask. But yeah, I can't argue with you on that. I think it's one of the best films of the year and definitely the best blockbuster. And it was such a joy to be able to watch it. I know you watched it in Imax too. You said that.
Yes.
I feel like you have to, and that's something we're gonna get into a little later. But it was just like it really reminded me when you were a kid and you were out of high school and that movie was out. You know.
Yeah, like we need to go see this.
And I just couldn't really like. There was I had that feeling to it, which I haven't had in years. And there's good summer blockbusters that have come out, you know, but not like this. And not like it really made me feel like this is what people felt like when Spielberg dropped one in the 80s, you know? So
last year, even before we had the pod, the movie that we were the most excited for at this time was The Green Knight. Mm-hmm. Our beloved Green Knight that's our holy grail. Maybe one day we'll talk about that, even though it's the reason we started the pod.
It's the White Knight.
Yeah. Even that, though, a year ago, we did not have something like this either. It's been a really weird year for movies overall because I feel like surprisingly, it's been like the blockbusters have been better. And I don't mean Jurassic World or Lightyear or anything like that. I mean like the Batman, Everything Everywhere All at Once, the Northman, Top Gun, Nope. So it's been a rare year where I actually feel like the movies that are the biggest have been the best ones so far. And I still have hope for the rest of the year, but something like this, and I know how much we love Jordan Peele. Jordan Peele is someone we talked about on the very first episode of the pod. He got name dropped about how much we love his work.
He's on the Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, exactly. And just going off of what you said with the butts and seats, like I saw this at 4 p.m. on a Thursday. Like they were doing a surprisingly early showing.
Which even that.
Yeah, because they're usually at 7,
Exactly.
right? So even at 4 o'clock on a Thursday, it was, I would say, 75% full, and a really excited audience. I felt like everyone in there kind of knew what they were getting into. You know, Jordan Peele has that name power already, right? Like someone like Alfred Hitchcock had back in the day. Like even after when Get Out came out, not even after, before it came out, it was on the coattails of his name because he was a successful comedian, like you had we were talking about off pod. I don't understand it, but it's like the most welcome thing I could think of is that we have this guy already who just a couple movies in, he can sell TV shows that he's executive produced, or things like The Twilight Zone, which he hosted when it came back, all off the name brand of his likeness, you know.
And also like you have like him almost being part of like the Black Klansman with Spike Lee. You know, he has credits for that too, and it's the stuff that he's also involved in that he necessarily doesn't take the face for, but he's just involved in everything that it seems like a very unique avenue.
Yeah, I totally forgot that he was involved in Black Klansman helping produce that, right? Because I was thinking Lovecraft Country, which he helped produce, so that, you know, that was sold on his name in the beginning, even though it's a fantastic show that he didn't have so much to do with, but he was able to just get that show made based off his name.
Yeah, I didn't know that, but that's what I mean. Is I feel like he has such this unique avenue that not a lot of people get during this age anymore. That because comedy is such a like heart relieving type of like, I guess, you know, type of art, that people were just willing to give him the money to do things, and he's taken it to this way where he just does his original ideas. And once you're like kind of going back to we were talking about how many seats are there and you know what you're getting yourself into, it almost seems like people who are really fans of quote unquote like deeper films, artsy type films, know that he's the perfect mix of both.
Yes.
And I think that Nope is the first time where it does actually feel like the studios also feel that way too.
Yeah.
And they gave him the money to do something that they would have given Spielberg to do back then. And I think he took it and he ran with it, and he proved why he's, like we were talking off pod, 3 for 3.
Yeah, for sure. Say what you will about Us and Get Out. I mean, Get Out is pretty critically acclaimed. I think it's about as acclaimed as a movie could be.
Yeah, I believe so
on
too.
arrival, it didn't take any time for it to get the love. You know, it was instant. I know Us is that's a funny slip. With Us, I know it was a little more divisive between the crowds and the critics and stuff like that. Maybe that he was trying to one up his idea from Get Out and do something even crazier. But we were talking when we were getting ready to doing some pre-production on the pod, we were discussing that he's gotten bigger and bigger with every movie that he's made so far. And I honestly can't tell how he could do something even bigger than this, because it feels as big as it can be, right? And I think that's really has a lot to do with working with the IMAX cameras, the 65 millimeter, and having Hoyte van Hoytema doing the cinematography on this thing.
Correct.
It's such a big movie. Like, to see it in IMAX, I even wish the screen could have been bigger. And I would love to see it in Dolby too, just to get
the sound, right?
Yeah, because the sound in this movie.
So
we are moving around a little bit, but just all of the actual production aspect of this movie is so well done. And I could see this movie being like Dune, where it sweeps all the below the line awards, because it's incredible in every way. The sound design, the score, the cinematography, there's nothing about this movie that I don't like absolutely love.
This is one of those movies that really showed me like, oh, you used your budget.
Yes.
Unlike a lot, and like Dune was the last one to make you feel that way. A point that I did want to bring up that I think kind of shows his growth and kind of shows why, as film lovers, there's like this general love for Jordan Peele, is that he's such a fan of the art itself. And so like Get Out has so many like loves for like that Sydney, or I actually can't remember the name of the movie right now, but it's certain films that he watched, right, that he really loved, and he get inspired by those. And then in Us, it's another set of movies that are completely different genre that he's inspired by. But then in this one, I feel like he's growing even in terms of what he's trying to recreate. And like in this one, you finally get those blockbusters that he fell in love with. And I always think that that's why you kind of feel like a connection with him, having watched all these movies. You said you had heard him kind of talk about his inspiration for these movies. Those are all movies that we've, even on this pod, repeatedly have talked about. Either episodes are on here, or we've talked about how much we love these movies.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
He's only, I don't even know, I have never looked up how old he is, but let's say he's like maybe 15 years older than us, but he seems like all the same inspirations that he takes from is so relatable still to this day. And so he seems to have like the best way to influence his work and not totally copy it, but kind of takes what works for those movies.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of his inspirations and things like that, and his growth. Well, I want to start with his growth actually, because you made a really good point about him getting bigger and bigger with each movie. And I think working with Hoyte van Hoytema, who's known for working with Christopher Nolan, and he did what was it, Ad Astra, right? That's such an amazing looking movie. So he, no disrespect to his other cinematographers, because we will get to them when we do the other two episodes.
Correct.
But working with someone like Hoyte van Hoytema is about the highest you could get, you know? And like you said, using the budget of this movie, like to really have it on display, which it definitely is. I feel like they spared no expense when it came to capturing certain shots and just making them look as like honestly majestic as they could possibly look. Like Jordan Peele is a filmmaker who understands how far a powerful image can go. And so to work with a cinematographer like this, that's the guy who's going to get you what's in your head.
Which is super meta to the movie, too.
Yeah, this movie's all types of meta.
But I did want to say, because I was able to watch like the IMAX of them talking before the movie about it. And
was this in person or was it a video?
It was a video.
Oh, I was so hoping that it was in person.
I know.
Because I was like, he's going to come with some juicy shit for the pod that he got to see in person.
I didn't understand either why it was before.
Oh, it was before.
It was before the movie
like
started.
Tom Cruise in Top Gun?
Yeah, and then I didn't understand because I was there early, because I always fear that, you know, for something I really like that.
What if they don't show
What
trailers
if they
this
don't?
time?
Yeah, exactly.
I did the same thing since my showing was so early in the day.
And I was like, you know, but it was before, and even they kind of made a joke. It was him and Keke Palmer. Keke Palmer was doing an interview on him, actually. It was just them talking to each other. But then she asked him about the cinematographer. And he just kind of talked about how he knew he was going to shoot this in IMAX, and that's what Hoyte
van Hoytema.
We're
probably getting it wrong, but who cares?
If he were able to record his life in the most beautiful way that it could, he was like, I would record it in an IMAX camera, 60 millimeter. And, you know, and I think that just is inspiration for Jordan Peele to know, be like, that is arguably, I mean, Christopher Nolan seems to agree. You know what I mean? A lot of our favorite directors seem to agree, like, that is spectacle filmmaking.
That's how you capture it.
That's like the best of the best, you know. That's, no one's ever gonna question what was seen on that type of like film reel. And so I think that plays so well into this movie and the meta of the movie, and just the overall gorgeousness that we're talking about, how this movie looks. And I'm sure a lot of people like aren't going to watch it on IMAX. You know, obviously it's a little bit
not everybody
pricier
has
to watch
that capability, honestly, because the theater closest to us doesn't even have IMAX. We have to go to one that's like 10, 15 minutes even farther.
Exactly. And I know that once you're watching it at home, like a lot of movies that we love, you're not going to get maybe that same dimensions, but it is a spectacle that I feel very fortunate to have seen.
Yeah, I mean, IMAX really is the most movie a movie could be, you know? And it really is, I think, the most gorgeous way that you can capture images. And the other thing I wanted to say about it was, I keep bouncing off this point about the money being spent the right way, right? Because I think that is one of the best ways to describe this movie, honestly. Correct. I feel like they really did, I already brought it up, that they spared no expense, but that also it's all in service of the story, you know? There's certain movies we see in IMAX that it feels like IMAX is a gimmick, or it's like it's not even the whole movie shot in IMAX. It's like sequences shot in IMAX.
Correct.
So there is a way to kind of cheapen it and make it feel like not like exactly like 3D, but that way of just kind of trying to get people in. Like I didn't even want to see this, but they were showing it in IMAX, so I thought, this kind of eventizes it more. It makes it like a theme park, like when you go to Disneyland and they're showing Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, where you're like, am I interested in this? No, but I want to go see the 3D.
I think personally, like a good example of that, like the Fast and the Furious. I'm not a fan of the sagas. They show those on IMAX, and it almost feels like it's because.
I mean, they've gotten bigger in scale, obviously.
Obviously,
but
that's what I'm saying. They're not for me, but that's how I see some of them too. Like because they're not for me, it almost seems like they're trying to grab. Like, look what's taking up the 3 weeks at IMAX this time of the year. Because every time they show one movie, that's the only movie they show for around 3 weeks or something until the next big thing comes out, which. Not a lot of movies are shot on IMAX because obviously it's a big studio thing. Like A24 movies aren't shot on IMAX. You know what I mean?
Oh, I wish. Marcel the Shell in IMAX.
Yeah. But that's why it's just peak movie like filmmaking and
viewing. Honestly, this is the best way you could watch a movie. I think. I mean, Dolby's fun and all, but IMAX is where it's at. Give me the picture every time. It's already loud enough.
Correct. I agree.
So yeah, I mean, IMAX. I need more of it. Always more of it. But have it be in service of the story. Like Christopher Nolan uses it the right way. I mean, I don't know how people feel one way or another, but Zack Snyder, I feel, uses it the right way, where it's like, if I'm going to use this, I want to create the most powerful images that I can possibly create with this camera. So, someone like Hoyte van Hoytema, who's just lugging this thing around, putting it on his shoulder and shit, like, this is a man who is literally putting his body on the line in the most dramatic sense to capture these images, because if you've ever seen an IMAX camera, which if you've seen this movie, you have, these things are not small. Like, this is probably one of the biggest cameras I've ever seen too. Like, I couldn't imagine if you could buy an IMAX camera, what the reviews would be like, right?
I know.
And, I mean, we've all seen the Giga Chad Zack Snyder just holding this thing like it's a shotgun, right? But we're talking about a huge, huge camera here. And I was watching some behind the scenes stuff, seeing them just like whip this thing around, kind of almost like it was a drone, It just really like hit home what I was seeing on the screen when I watched the movie.
It's so funny you're talking about like the reviews. They've had reviews of Christopher Nolan 5 out of 5.
Yeah.
Like Interstellar was dope because of this.
Denis Villeneuve, 10 out of 10 on Dune.
Only camera I would have shot this on.
Yeah, I mean, below the line, I feel like this is a masterpiece.
Yeah.
Right? So, and I think another reason that it is because of the score by Michael Abels, who you had informed me that he did the other 2 Jordan Peele movies, so this is a recurring guy. And I do think this happens with like auteur filmmakers as well, that they like to find people that they know that they can continue to work with over and over again, because if Michael Abels has done 3 of his films, that means the sound of Jordan Peele movies is him. It's not Jordan Peele, So this guy does have to be brought up as well, because I feel like all of Jordan Peele's movies have really great scores that they really help sell what you're seeing.
I would arguably say that we're gonna get into it in the other episodes, but like Us is technically my least favorite of them, but that's the sound that I remember the most out of all 3 of them.
Definitely.
Right? And like, so like you said, he is part of the Jordan Peele train. And whenever we think about his movies, he's an integral part of that.
Dude, when they think about just how with the Us trailer, this is a rhetorical question, but it's like, what sticks with you the most? The I Got 5 on it with the violins.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, I watched Us the day that I watched Nope. I was like, let me just throw this on to rewatch it so I can be in that Jordan Peele mindset. And it's what I thought of the most, because I know you collect physical media as well. So the sound on 4Ks, even if you don't have a great TV, it really is amplified on a 4K Blu-ray.
Yeah.
So hearing that sound all day kind of just put me in a certain mood when I was watching this movie. I felt like I was in the sounds of Jordan Peele movies, honestly.
Which is, like you said, credited to
Michael Abels. Exactly. Yeah. So I think this is going to bring us into the cast, because Jordan Peele's best cast?
Yeah.
Best performance by actors?
I think so. I mean, okay, so we already know Daniel Kaluuya never comes to play, right? So
thick king in this movie.
Yeah, he is, but he does have, which I want to bring up, the swag in this
seen.
movie. Yeah, he does have the swag in this movie, which is a lot of inspo. Kind of the vibe for us, which is a lot of just like extra shirts that you would get at your job type vibe. His job just happens to be one of the coolest jobs, which I kind of brings me the segue. This may be a little forward, but that this movie seems to have a lot of love for people who work on movies that aren't appreciated.
The below the line people.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that it's almost a love letter to those people as well. And so I really like Daniel Kaluuya's performance here. In the beginning, you're like, he's a little, quiet, but then you find out the things that have developed and where he is in his state of mind. And I think he really, that's not an easy role to portray sometimes. Sometimes you can come off not delivering as well because you're like, why is he so quiet or whatever? But he definitely has a way of carrying those type of roles. And I think that's a reason Jordan Peele calls him like his Robert De Niro, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I love personally when an actor keeps working with a director. So it's like, please give me more Robert Pattinson with the Safdies and with Robert Eggers, you know, or even Willem Dafoe. Please give me more of that. That would be great. Or Ralph Ineson. He worked multiple times with Robert Eggers.
You get Eggers, Anya Taylor-Joy, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like and I like, a lot of people like to make jokes about that, but it's for a reason. They know how to tap into each other's creative venues, and they do it so well. I couldn't really see them being replaced by anybody else.
Obviously, Jordan Peele's main characters are somewhat a reflection of his inner thoughts or his psyche, right?
Correct.
And Daniel Kaluuya is the guy who channels that. So if you find that guy, why break it? It's not, or why try to fix it? It's not broken. This is probably one of the better actor-director duos now that we have.
Correct.
And Before I forget, I wanted to bring up that you were saying that this is kind of a love letter to the below the line people. Mm-hmm. And I honestly believe that because I've been seeing stories about Jordan Peele, like how he treats the crew and things like that. Correct. So I don't know if you noticed, did you stick around to watch the credits or anything like that?
Yeah.
That every member of the orchestra was like by name mentioned because, the sound is that important for this movie. And I've also seen, other stories of like Jordan Peele kind of pulling like a guy who did a focus pull shot on Us, like pulling him aside and being like, that was fucking sick. You know what I mean? And I just wonder if it's because he's been in the industry for so long in so many different capacities that he just understands. But yeah, there is a lot of love for that. So I just kind of wanted to bring that back up.
Kind of like, I think that might add also to our previous point of why he is able to get butts on the seats. The people in Hollywood respect him. The viewers respect him. He's earned that respect. He seems like a really nice guy. And I think maybe that's how things like that go a far way, because it's just everybody that's maybe been around him wants to watch his films. And then not only is he unique, he's also doing them really well. So it's like you want to support this guy. You want to be like, this is the type of movies that we wish were coming out every year. And not just by him, but whatever inspiration that he happens to give to new filmmakers, we hope that that's the future of filmmaking.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a great point. I was just about to say that Jordan Peele feels like he's starting to be someone who's pushing the boundaries of filmmaking altogether. Like even, the fact that he even appreciates the below the line people and feels the need to bring them up when that's something that, I mean, not everyone would know this, but if you pay attention to like the film world and film news, like all the strikes and things like that were happening last year.
Correct.
And I know some laws have changed, so they are starting to mention these people who work on the films, which is crazy, right? Could you imagine working on all these really important things and just being like, yeah, that's all Jordan Peele. It's just him and some other people. Like, don't worry about the guys who build the sets or do the designs or anything like that. So with just like the image making, the storytelling, it all being so original, the cast, like working with Daniel Kaluuya over and over again, I just feel like he is so on top of his game and like leading the forefront of this next generation of important movie makers.
He's like young enough to be here. Like he's hopefully, obviously, he'll be here for a while too.
Let's pray for 40 more years of Jordan Peele movies. You know what I mean?
I feel like he's just starting, and in his third movie already, he's pushing the boundary. And I just think that's a very unique place that Robert Eggers is obviously somewhat doing the same, but The Northman was his first film where
foray
he got
into
the
that.
budget, and then but Jordan Peele started almost with the budget.
Well, not even with the budget, but I get what you're saying. But it
felt
being a
like
studio
it.
movie, like
Yeah.
a big studio movie that Universal signed him to a 5-year deal.
And I also wanted to bring up the fact that it almost seems like Jordan Peele's way of having love for all of these under the line or under notice type of creators. Even Universal's in on it. We know that through various pictures of me wanting to go, Universal has this setup.
Yes, I was not going to bring this up till later,
Okay.
but yes. You know me. Anytime I can bring up theme parks on this podcast, it will get mentioned.
But no, but the fact that also it'd be like, those are all the original sets that they use in the film and they're up. And I think that comes from Jordan Peele, like almost talking with Universal, like, hey, like, let's use these sets. Like, let's not just tear them down after the movie's done. Like, people worked on this. Like, how could we use this more? And I would feel like I'd want so many more directors to do that or to have that type of reach for Universal to be like, let's use this, hopefully for horror nights, let's use this. Because I know now a lot of stuff that I had seen, like, people had been in it. And now you can only go on the tour and kind of see it.
Oh, no.
So,
I missed my chance already.
Exactly. That's how I felt about it. But I just thought it was so cool that there was that mass appeal already where Universal was also like, I know you guys want this.
That's that Spielberg shit.
That's that Spielberg shit, which not a lot of directors get, and it's for a reason.
So, speaking of having this Spielberg-like power and going back to the cast, casting somebody like Keke Palmer, who is honestly a Hollywood legend, if you've been paying attention.
Yes.
She's been around forever. Shout out to Keela and the Bee.
Shout out. Yeah.
That was probably the
Disney.
first time I ever seen
too.
her. I don't know if that was her first movie or not, but she had nothing but great things to say about working with Jordan Peele, right? And the role that she was given in this movie. So let's kind of get back to the cast here, talking about Daniel Kaluuya, Keke Palmer, and there's a few others to bring up. But this relationship between them carries this entire movie.
Correct.
I mean, we haven't even get to really get to what this movie's actually about, but it is a brother and sister story from the beginning, middle, and end. That is one of the big aspects of this entire huge film, is something that's so small and personable still. And I do think that's another place where Jordan Peele really succeeds, is he takes these small stories, but he makes them huge, like as big as you could make them. And I don't think this movie would work if it was anybody else, because the chemistry that these two have with each other, it does feel like they're actually brother and sister.
Yeah, it does.
So another, I was either reading it or watching a video or something discussing this. They were saying that Jordan Peele's movies feel like real people, where things are just happening to them and you happen to be watching it. They don't feel like movie characters.
No,
and I do feel that way about these two performances as well.
I agree.
Especially with Daniel Kaluuya doing the mumbling, the end of the, and Keke Palmer's loud personality and just her, she's so personable and enthusiastic, and she feels like she could get anybody excited about anything. And we get that within 2 minutes of her being on the screen. Not even 2 minutes, probably within 10 seconds.
Yeah.
I feel like you love her before you even actually see her, only when you can hear her.
That's why I agree with you, where I think it's the best one. She's my favorite of the whole movie. I can't even really walk out and be like, she wasn't your favorite, just because her energy, and she's like that even on social media.
She might be his best character.
Exactly.
Like not the best story. I mean, I'm sure people want to say Daniel Kaluuya and Get Out because he has the Oscar love also to back that up.
Lupita Nyong'o's character in Us too is really good.
Yes. I just think that movie, even though I love it, I think it gets caught up in the whole gimmick of it, I would say.
Yeah, correct.
But Keke Palmer feels like the most fully realized Jordan Peele character, honestly.
So sure of herself, so secure, but also that's what I kind of wanted to make the connection between Lupita Nyong'o and like him knowing the actresses to use for his vision and giving it that feel that you said, that you're just kind of looking into the window of somebody's life, and it's because almost like I know Lupita Nyong'o's a great actress,
yes,
and so does Hollywood in some sense, but
Star Wars doesn't.
Yeah, exactly. It's covered in CGI.
Yeah,
but I feel like he almost puts him again like in your face to be like, no, you're underappreciating her. And this is exactly what Keke Palmer needed she needed a movie where it's going to be a blockbuster for people to realize that who Keke Palmer is, because she has been around for a long time. She's been really funny and stuff. And I think this might be obviously her best role yet, but I feel like it's starting something.
This should be the beginning of an ascension of like the Kiki Palmer sans.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
I agree. I mean, she likes to make fun of like Angela Bassett a lot, but I hope that's where she goes in her career.
Is doing something like that.
Whatever, like what Angela Bassett was doing with her career, I want her to be that times two.
Having that royalty.
Exactly.
Of like Angela Bassett, like when she's in a role now, she's the queen of Wakanda. She isn't just a person in a movie.
Exactly.
And that is kind of where, I mean, Kiki Palmer has definitely been underappreciated in her career. I mean, one of the last big things she was in was she was in Hustlers, which is, I think, a really fun, good movie, but that she's just a side character, you know? She's not even in the entire thing. And for her to finally get this big breakthrough, which, you know, no disrespect to the rest of her career, because I think it's one to be proud of. You know, she's
definitely
been on shows on Nickelodeon. She's been starring in movies since she was 11 years old. She's had her own talk show. She's done the shit. You know what I mean? But now she's finally in the forefront where she belongs.
Exactly.
I mean, Daniel Kaluuya is already there. This is one of our most appreciated, best working actors of the time. Like you said, he's kind of like a new Robert De Niro or something like that.
He really is.
But
I mean, he's already also like his character in Black Panther is light too, you know, so he's already touched the blockbuster character too.
That's to get the bag. That's the one for them, one for me.
But he never like, even that wasn't bad. Like his character was good in those. Like they even wrote a good character for him too. So it almost explains like you're not gonna have Daniel Kaluuya in your movie to do what is it, Widows, right?
Widows, where he's menacing and scary.
Yeah, he's a standout in that film, you know. And it's like he is really like the new Robert De Niro. And I do feel like Jordan Peele. I saw a lot of interviews about him, the way that he is now, and like how he got rejected for a long time, and then Get Out just obviously was his.
It's because he's a bruv.
Yep. Yeah. That's exactly why. But
British. Ugh.
I just like that Jordan Peele was like, you guys don't know how good of an actor this is. And he was right.
Yeah, and they carry this entire movie. Like that brother-sister bond, it feels as real as it could get. I mean, you have a brother and I have a sister, and I felt like it felt as real as those relationships feel. You know, like they are not necessarily... not trying to reflect on our own lives or anything here, but you know, they're not necessarily the closest brother and sister, but we realize by the end of this movie that they see and acknowledge each other their entire lives, even if they don't show it in the best ways, I would say.
Yep.
Because speaking of another character in this movie who's very minor, but we talked about him with The Thing, and he's an absolute fucking legend, Keith David, who plays their father in this movie. I feel like Kiki Palmer and Daniel Kaluuya are the two halves of him, because they both lack something that he had, which made him like a complete person. You know, like he's a businessman. He's charismatic. He could take care of his family. He could tame these animals. And between his two children, I feel like these traits were split. And when they are together is when we get that like perfect chemistry of like, they could have done this together, you know, like we're going to talk about it later, but they have the Hollywood horse ranch, right? Mm-hmm. And if they had stuck together this entire time, like I'm sure they would be just as successful as their father was,
if not more.
And I feel like we can't talk about Keith David too much yet, because this is more, he's very integral to the plot starting in this movie. So we will get back to him. Let's put a note on that. But the other standout cast in here is Brandon Perea, who's kind of a newcomer, and he's really the comedic relief of this movie, and I think he has some of the funnier moments I've seen in a long time. He plays like a Fry's electronic technician.
Shout out Fry's. I love Fry's.
That's where I got my first digital camera, you know?
Yeah.
Do you remember when we went to go get it?
Yeah.
And there's so many important things in my life that I bought at Fry's. You know, Pokemon Sapphire, Game Boy Advance, my first digital camera. So I've always loved Fry's more than Best Buy.
I'm a Fry's kid my whole life. The first PC that I built was in Fry's. I remember being in line to those 100 cash registers that they would have. Black Fridays were hectic, but Fry's really felt like your personable, like neighborhood electronics shop, and that was just huge. That's gone now because of the pandemic. So it was really cool to have that nostalgia kind of hit. That's what I mean. Like, I know he's only might be like 15 years older than me, but it seems like we grew up on the same things. And his standout character in this that's like Brandon's characters. I think that's why it works so well. He's like the realist in all of this, right?
Yeah.
The average conspiracist, but that is also grounded. And I feel like that's a lot of people in America right now.
Yeah, he's definitely into aliens, UFOs, UAPs. He
Ancient
calls
aliens
them.
type stuff.
Yeah, ancient
Yeah.
aliens. You got to check it out. He's 2 strands removed from being Alex Jones, but he doesn't necessarily cross that line.
Correct.
He's still somewhat normal.
Yeah, exactly. He has the fry. He has a job at Fry's, But yeah, I did really like his performance.
So, speaking of his performance, and Keke Palmer brought this up, Brandon Perea brought it up, that although Jordan Peele has the shit in his head ready to go, he fully can understand and realize his vision. He's also a great collaborator, and he's willing to let these actors bring what they deem necessary, right? So the way Brandon Perea was written was for him to kind of be like a upbeat, go lucky type of oh wow, gee golly, a UFO, you know what I mean? But he was retail workers don't have. That's not how retail workers are. Walk into a Fry's, the guy working behind the counter is not like that.
Nope.
So he wanted to bring the much more realistic take on what it means to work at somewhere like Fry's, and I think that actually works so much more. If this was meant to be way more comedic, I feel like he channeled it in a different way that is even funnier.
Yeah, I agree. It's just because it's the retail worker would be somebody who's one opinion away from being an Alex Jones, and he portrays that really well. That's why he's so much more interested in what's going on in this installation at a remote place outside of LA than his actual job.
Yeah, because there's nothing of value there for him, I mean, it's cool. It's cool to set up cameras and know how to do all of that shit, but it's not like this is his career, And we see him. We get to see a little more of who he is, and it's you go to his house, dude. He's got the Twitch set up, right?
Yeah.
He's got the VR and he's smoking joints. We all know this dude. I mean, you're probably cracking a claw with this dude at the moment,
Facts.
But
what I was gonna say too is I did like the comedic relief in him with the whole girlfriend situation, how she was famous, she left me, so it's just like you said, that's somebody that if you're especially part of that, some of your friends are influencers, I'm sure this guy, or your girlfriend or your friend is dating a guy like this, so it's a very relatable character, and it's very in tune to our times.
Although Daniel Kaluuya and Keke Palmer feel like they're veering towards the young end of main characters, they're not middle-aged or anything,
correct.
I feel like they're supposed to be in their late 20s, early 30s. This Brandon Perea character, Angel is his name, he feels like he's 23, 24, that you might run into this guy at the clinic, or you got a coworker who's getting high on his break, and it's definitely this guy, you know what I mean? This guy thinks that no one can tell that he's high.
Yeah, exactly. He's at Fry's, nobody knows I'm high.
Yeah, no, bro, everybody can tell that you're high.
So yeah, I hope he gets I know he's been out there trying to see if he can get a Marvel role. I'd love to see it.
Hey man, get the bag, bro.
Yeah.
Get the bag. And I do think he kind of sandwiches his way into this family dynamic of it kind of feeling like a 3-person family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I do even think at one point in the movie, and it's been some time since I've seen it, but he answers yeah, we're the Haywoods. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He already, I'm part of this family because we're all in some shit that we're the only people who know what's going on. So this has already bonded us in a way that you couldn't even imagine.
Yeah.
So I do think he has one of the standout performances in this movie, but honestly, those 3 main characters are all equally bringing the heat in this, I would say.
And then you have, which is funny, a very complimentary secondary role, but such a great person to have. You have Steven Yeun.
Perfect. This is where I wanted to go.
I mean, when I first saw this movie, or the trailer for this movie, and I saw the cast, that's where my eyes first went. I love the other 2, obviously, but Steven Yeun, he's been in so many things that I've grown up loving, and I think he's such a great, just performer in every type of aspect that he could do, every type of role I've seen him do. We saw him in The Humans last when we talked about it.
Yeah, we have a repeat on this pod.
Yep.
Yes.
Exactly. And I mean, it's a movie that I feel like his type of acting and skill carries those movies to be able to sit at the table with what's the older guy in that, Richard?
Oh, it's Richard Jenkins.
And Richard Jenkins is a legend, and for Steven Yeun to be able to share the screen with him also kind of just puts him in those type of actors. I really like Minari, you know what I mean? And again, that's a movie that's heavily taken through his role. But in this movie, he's a secondary role, but almost barely. And what I mean by that is that his character's, I guess you would call it his arc, is very integral to understanding what the themes of this film are. So it's like his character isn't the forefront, but we get a lot of his past in this film and what exactly his trauma means to the themes of this movie. So I think he, again, another person that is so well skilled and versed as an actor that is not an easy role to carry, and I'm very interested like in that character because he just plays it so well.
Yeah, definitely. Steven Yeun is one of our best working actors as well. So like that's another thing is that this cast is so strong. Like Steven Yeun, Keke Palmer, and Daniel Kaluuya are three of the best actors, and I I really love Steven Yeun as well. I think he's great. I mean, I loved Burning. I loved him. I stopped watching The Walking Dead when he died. You know what I mean? I was like, no more. No Glenn, no Gus.
All of a sudden, I don't care about this anymore. So
and, speaking of powerful images and stuff like that, I feel like he had some of the most power, like the shots that stuck with me through the trailer because of like the cowboy hat and the big vistas and landscapes that we see. I mean, his drip in this movie, ridiculous. Right? That red suit with a little UFO like bedazzled on the back is just such a nice touch. And we'll get into it later, some of his past trauma that's explored and how it's relevant to the plot of this movie as well.
Correct.
But I do think that a lot of the heavy lifting is done through Steven Yeun, actually, even though, like you said, he's secondary, but he doesn't feel like it because of the information that we get. But really, he's only in like 15, 20 minutes or something like that.
I would say something like that.
Yeah. And so I think our last main character that we have to bring up is Michael Wincott. He plays, I think his name's like Antlers Holst or something like that. He's supposed to be some, big time cinematographer. I'm sure he's supposed to be like Hoyte van Hoytema.
Because I mean, that's like a kind of Dutch name too.
Yeah, and he gets hired by our two main characters to help capture whatever might be going on. I know we've been eluding it so far, but I did think we had to bring him up before we could really get into what this movie's about.
He's the most meta character, like you said, and we kind of talked about it already.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he's meant to be portrayed in a good way, but I don't think so. Like, I think it's like if this was like The Lighthouse, he looked too much into the light. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That's kind of what the lesson we're supposed to take from this character.
He's a genius. I mean, actually, I'm getting ahead of myself.
We'll talk about it. But speaking of the meta-ness with the IMAX cameras, and I said if you've seen this movie, you've seen what an IMAX camera looks like. He's a cinematographer, and he has his own handmade IMAX camera. So this guy with him and the guy from Fry's, we're dealing with like some high-level tech here. You know what I mean? So I think enough time has passed, and we can get into what this movie is actually about. Do you want me to take it? Or you got it?
I guess like I was just going to start with saying like, what is the synopsis is very short.
Yeah.
It's not very long. I just kind of wanted to say that. It says, what's a bad miracle? Residents in the lonely gulch of the inland California bear witness to an uncanny, chilling discovery. That's as short as the synopsis is, which I feel like the movie, that's how it puts you.
True.
That's how it starts.
So unfortunately, this trailer does give a lot away. So if you've seen the trailer, I think we can get. So that's the synopsis, but I do think we have to talk about the actual plot of the movie,
correct.
Right? So, this story is told through the perspective of the Haywoods, right? Mm-hmm. They own the Hollywood Haywood Horse Ranch. They have been part of Hollywood for a very long time. Allegedly, their grandfather is their great grandfather is the first person to ever be captured in motion picture format. Mm-hmm. And they're kind of down on their luck after their father dies to a freak accident, which is. Do you want to say it? Should we say it now? What it is?
Yeah. So this is kind of how the movie starts. You have Keith David's character.
Yes. So we can finally talk about Keith David.
You have Keith David's character kind of talking to Daniel Kaluuya, and we kind of see...
Who plays OJ. I think that needs to be brought up as well. OJ Haywood.
Cool name. Yeah. And he's kind of just letting him know what the next step is for the businesses. He's kind of telling him what's coming up, and like they're doing well, you know? And they just kind of hear this weird sound. They all look up, and... Daniel Kaluuya's character had kind of already walked away from his dad. They were already done talking. And when he looks back, he just sees his dad fall off of the horse that he was on. And then the horse also, he's seen something like fall from the sky and hit like the horse's ass, basically. And the next scene is we just see Keith David at like a nickel through his eye.
Yeah.
And it's very, I mean, I would expect that's what it would look like. They always make the joke, right? If you threw like a quarter off the Empire State Building, it would like kill somebody.
Like a bullet.
Yeah, it'd be like a bullet. And I just think this, again, those are things that all of us know. I don't know if I've ever seen it portrayed on film, but I'm like, God,
I don't know if I ever have.
like, God, that's terrible. That's a terrible.
Or like if I have seen it, it was like Magneto, like shooting a coin across the room to kill somebody.
But in a horror movie, you know what I mean?
not
And to use it that way, and to like, I think, and then you hear this weird sound, and it right there, you're already kind of questioning, like, well, what would be falling from the sky? Because then we also get that the thing that fell on the horse's like a butt is a key, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like it's like, oh, a bunch of coins fell from a plane or something. It's all random objects.
So we're seeing inorganic matter falling from the sky because it's
Correct.
multiple different things. It isn't just metal. It's basically
It's
anything
inorganic,
that's not skin.
Yeah.
Or organic to the planet. You know what I mean?
Correct.
So this really propels our story forward because the verdict on this, well, it's a murder, is that airplane debris fell from the sky over their house because, planes empty their toilets over vacant areas supposedly. And that's what we're told that is what happened to his father. But OJ being slightly skeptical, doesn't really believe that could be the cause of this, because like the sound that you're talking about, it's so out of this world that it feels like it's not so much a sound, it's like the lack of a sound, like sound disappearing. And it becomes integral to the plot later. We see it definitely in the trailer, like things powering down when our big star of the movie makes its appearances.
Correct.
And after the death of their father, OJ is kind of reeling. He doesn't know if he can do this, and especially not by himself. So he's taking roles like 6 months later, and he's taking the horses out there to go do the commercials and things like that. And his sister decides to pop back up, and this is where we really get to see Keke Palmer shine in the beginning. Just, like I was saying, within that first 10 seconds, her personality is already shining. And we can see the duality of these two characters, like how they're two halves of their dad, but they're kind of incomplete. And when they're together, this is where we can really get that perfect balance between them. But go ahead.
And I was saying, even the studio is very, or the people who have hired them are very, I guess, hesitant to want to trust these people, because they're like, where's his dad? They ask, and then it's like, oh, well, he passed a couple, and then like all of them are like,
it's more like a burden too, which is annoying,
because
like that's one of the messages of this movie.
Exactly,
like the meta-ness of Hollywood.
Exactly, like we knew we could trust the old, like the old guy we've been working with, the old guy, be like, these guys, we'll see how it works. And then at the beginning, he's kind of very, very left on his own. We know that he's a shy character, not very shy characters, that he witnessed something that he can't explain.
Yeah,
almost leaving him very. Obviously, I feel like it's a very natural reaction to be very traumatized by this, but that's why you need this powerful character by Keke Palmer, which is his sister, that this other energy.
Her name's Emerald.
Yeah, which the names in this movie are just perfect.
They feel like real people.
Yeah,
like Emerald Haywood. You'd be like, yeah, that's the coworker at my job.
What a cool name, And yeah, like you said, it's like the two halves of the dad, because the dad, later we kind of see those recordings of, he used to do the whole thing by himself. Yeah. And kind of just let everybody know that his great grandpa was the first man the first man on the recorded. And yeah, I think this is what, like 15 minutes into the movie.
Yeah, it's really fast.
We're already very set in on our character's mindset and what is like where we're gonna be heading, I guess, because it's like, obviously we have to explain why these things fell out of the sky and killed them, and like why he's gonna be.
It doesn't make any sense.
Exactly.
So, luckily for OJ, his sister is, she's a clout chaser. That's the easiest way to put it.
Correct.
He starts describing what happened to his sister, and they decide that this had to be an alien or a UFO. Like they start thinking that this is the only realistic explanation for what actually happened, which I do think only works because of the time we live in now, because this is set in modern times and we already know that aliens exist. Yeah. That if I told you, like, yo, I'm pretty sure I seen an alien and I have proof and I can prove it to you again, that wouldn't be the most outlandish thing you could hear now.
Just record that bitch on IMAX.
Exactly. So, which this is another interesting thing to me that the story takes this direction, because you'd mentioned to me that the plot of or not the plot. This movie was almost named Little Green Men, and not in terms of aliens, but the little green men in your pocket, money. Right? Mm-hmm. And this movie is all about skeptical. I keep getting those two words together today. This is all about spectacle and exploitation, and even though these two characters are dealing with the trauma of their father's death, they are going to exploit this thing that happened to them. Yeah, and like, you know what? I might as well fucking get paid for it.
That's Keke Palmer's whole character, like, to come in and be like, because she's trying to be an actress, doing all these things at once. They're at tension.
She's a SMAD. She's a singer, model, actor, dancer.
I love it. But that's their colliding characteristics, is that he just wishes she would know, be like, just help me with this. And she's like, you're trying to do your side gigs during our main job. Don't do that. So that's where their contrasting characters are like. But yeah, she's the one that varies her ideas. Like, we should make money off of this.
Yeah, she's aware. She's like, go on YouTube, go on Twitch. You know what I mean?
Let's get paid.
Yes, she's very modern about how she approaches this. And Daniel Kaluuya, I feel like some of it is that he does just want to know that he's not crazy about this. So, but also he is in a situation now that he's taking care of the farm where they need to come up with money or they're going to lose this place. So they do have two different set of values of why they're trying to capture this on film.
Correct.
But they have a common goal, but for two different interests. He's trying to save himself and she's just trying to get famous. But you're doing what you got to do,
I mean, kind of just segueing to where this is heading, but like, they have pretty decent money to buy the cameras they buy at Fry's.
Yes, that's one thing. Is like, I know you're broke, but I've never been broke where it's like I still have money to buy a whole security system.
State-of-the-art cameras for a ranch.
Yeah, for real. We're talking like the most security you could possibly have.
Area 51 probably has these type of cameras. Like, when there's movement, boom, the camera just turns into them. And I mean, I would imagine, obviously, it's a ranch for Hollywood. They should have a good amount of money, right? And he's trying to just maintain that. But yeah, their trip to Fry's, they stock up on a bunch of stuff, and that's where we get our character played by Brandon.
Yeah, Brandon Perea. And this moment is kind of it kind of completes our character introductions almost, because we meet Brandon Perea, we find out what's going on with Steven Yeun's character and how Daniel Kaluuya has been selling the horses from the ranch to his name is what's his name? It's like Ricky Park,
because he has that
nickname's Little Jupe or something like that.
It's Ricky Park. Yeah.
Jupe, so he has been selling these horses, but with the intention that he thinks he's going to get them back. And we find out a little later on that these horses are not coming back.
Yeah, they're.
So we get Brandon Perea out there setting up the cameras, and he starts to already put the pieces together. Like, I'm pretty sure I know what this is for. And later on, we learn that Steven Yeun is exploiting this creature, this thing as well.
Yep.
He is also aware of what's going on with this UFO, and he's trying to exploit it for his own gain as well. And that's one of the big, huge themes in this movie. This movie is like really heavy-handed, but I do think that that's not to its detriment. That's kind of the point. Is like, because this is a big budget blockbuster, I'm trying to make this as accessible as I can to anybody who's going to watch this.
I agree.
So at that point, we realize that, yes, there actually is a UFO. We get some glorious nighttime IMAX shots of this thing.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, it's terrifying,
Yeah.
And this kind of does bring us to our cinematographer character as well. The family decides to hire him to help capture this thing.
Because they meet him at that first commercial.
Yeah.
They meet him there, and he's known for being cinematographer that can capture anything that most people cannot capture.
Yes. So this really sets us up. We have this small little crew of people, and this is, like you're saying, why it's so meta. We have our small little film crew almost creating a documentary trying to capture this creature on film, right? And I do think we do have to get to I pretty much just spoiled it, but we do have to get to this, that this UFO is unlike any UFO I've ever seen in a movie before. Yeah. I don't know about you. Have you ever seen anything like this?
No, I think that's the part that at first when I've only seen it once, so it's all about breaking the first expectations that even through the trailer you expect our dumb little minds expects the green little men to come out, which we actually get a little tease of in the movie.
Yeah, that's the Shyamalan right there.
Yeah,
he pulled the Shyamalan right
at
in the
first
middle.
I was like, "Holy!" It was a scary scene. It really was. It was but it didn't. It almost didn't make sense, and then you kind of find out that that's not the way it's going. But when we do get our UFO reveal, I just think it's so cool they decided to go always like you think you would know what an alien would look like, but that's because we're so human to think that it would look like us. But it's like, what if it was this whole thing, you know? And
you remember the movie Paul, where it's like, yeah, we've been programming you guys to think that this is what aliens look like, so that when you see one, you won't freak out.
Exactly, dude. Like, who's to say that if there was a green plane on the sky, that would be an alien? But because we just thought it was a green plane, we wouldn't even question.
Well, my
it.
mind has already been conditioned to thinking that an alien is going to have a big gray head and big black
And
eyes.
it's a flying saucer, you know what I mean? Or it's like Futurama's a dome over their head with big squid-like bodies, stuff like that.
No.
You
This
know,
is a
or
biblically
xenomorph.
accurate alien.
Exactly. These are the ones that the Mayans were drawing. Be like when people were like, "Oh, look, they're drawing." Like, no, that was the alien coming down.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the biggest, I hope it doesn't feel like we're brushing over it, but this is one of the crazier reveals I can think of in a long time.
Oh yeah.
Because when we were seeing the final trailers for this movie, we're like, why are they giving us so much? And now that I've seen the movie, I can tell that, well, it doesn't even matter that they're showing you that, because that's not even the point of the movie. It's not we have alien attacks, but it's not an alien attack movie. It's not an end of the world movie. It's somehow very contained, even though it's got like the biggest thing I can think of.
It's so out of our reach of understanding, and you're just lucky to witness it.
Okay, so how would you describe what this thing looks like?
It looks like a cowboy hat mixed with the regular UFO depiction.
Oh,
that
a flying
they make,
saucer.
Flying
Yeah.
saucer depiction that they usually do with a dune-like worm mouth in the middle.
I kind of saw it like from the first shots that we see of it, and that first kind of reveal that it maybe is not a machine, that it's a organic creature. I thought it kind of looked like a stingray, or like a
That's a good. I like. I
right,
see that,
like a
yeah.
stingray-like body. So I mean, I wasn't even after that reveal, I couldn't have expected what came next, where it unraveled and it looked like it's Lovecraftian. I don't know how to describe it, even though I saw it.
It looked like the ships like the Mayflower, like those when they have
Like
all those
sails?
sails.
Yeah.
It looked like 15 sails on top of it or something. Like that's what I mean about just being able to, like, oh my god, it's like I can think about an alien thinking that you're creative. 3,000 types of aliens. Never in my head would I have thought about making what Jordan Peele made as like this is what this alien looks like.
So I want to shout out. His name is I believe it's John DeBeery. He was the designer of the creature, and his biggest inspiration for it was like octopus, squid, other underwater creatures. Where like I don't know if you saw that documentary, my octopus teacher or whatever, but it showed all the different ways that octopus can like travel across the ocean floor. And they can make themselves look like a floating disc, or they can transform themselves into all these different shapes.
Sick.
And even with some jellyfish too, as well, that when they kind of unravel and get ready to eat, they kind of look like the creature we see in this film. Cool. And I do think cool.
Yeah, that's so cool. No, because I didn't know that. That's so cool.
So that's really where we get this spectacle that we're talking about.
Has it been on like a tin hat type of like how would I say it? Like like aliens, right? Like after just like watching the movie, and like people thoroughly think like spores could be aliens because they could survive like in space. So it
tardigrades,
and like they always think like spores and like octopuses, and so it's just cool to like maybe we're coming to a point where we listen to science so much that we're taking something that could be real, like octopuses could be aliens, and now we're trying to make stuff that
are they not?
Yeah, exactly. And like spores do not make sense how they would survive in the vacuum of space. So it's like, what if those are aliens?
So something that got me thinking, since you've been bringing this up, is that do you think that this is an alien, or do you think it's a creature of Earth, like maybe something that emerged from the ocean, or maybe the core of the Earth, or something like that, or do you think it's from outer space?
I do think it's a vessel from not of this world, how they would say.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think it's up for interpretation, definitely, that there's no concrete answer, but I kind of got ocean vibes, like maybe like the kaiju from Pacific Rim, where it's like some kind of earthquake, something happened, and it opened up a crater in the bottom of the ocean, and this is what came out, or like
it is
that it was that deep in the ocean. Yeah, I mean, with the ocean, it's just as unexplored as space, so we really don't even know.
Pacific Rim and Nope. How cool.
How did you expect that to get name dropped when you walked in here today? I'd argue that was the last great spectacle film since.
No, I mean, because it really is like it's favoring in the type of a context that we wouldn't know what an alien would look like. We like to think that we would know it would be a xenomorph or that it would be a guy in a suit. Like, God,
that's why I'm xenophobic. You never seen a xenomorph?
Yeah, exactly. But that's what I mean. Like, no, but what if it was a living entity that you couldn't even manifest in your head? That's like, what? Like, things can get that big, and yeah, they wouldn't even talk a language anymore. It would be all mental, and like, I just think this film really plays on what somebody who works at Fry's, who's one, that's gonna be very UFO conspiracy. It's playing to that audience, I think.
So the plot of this movie is honestly pretty simple once you really get down to it. I do think it's more about the spectacle, not to be cliche here, but the vibes. You know what I mean? This is like a vibe-heavy movie where it's like, okay, I understand the plot. You want to capture this thing on film, right? And that's really all you need to get going with this movie. So I do think it's all about the visuals, the sound, the shot composition, the IMAX cameras.
Correct.
Like, that's really what we're here for. And I do think this, like, biblically accurate looking thing, it really does just cement that home. It's like, dude, I never seen something like this before, and that's why I think that this is so good. Earlier, what you were saying when we first started about it being original, like, this is one of the most original things I've ever seen, even though it's inspired by so many great films that we know and love.
I had seen a fairly popular Twitter page. It's kind of just like commenting on film sometimes, not a film page, but talking about when was the last time you remember a new movie came out to make your brain feel like an alien could look different than what we think it could look like.
Not in a very long time.
And he said that before Nope came out. And it's like, that's what I mean is like, I got to appreciate, just like, even if you don't like that the movie might be heavy handed, even if you think nothing happens in the movie, which I actually could argue, I could see that, be like, it's a vibe movie.
It's part of it.
I think that that's part of the theme that this movie is trying to get across to, which I think is why I like it so much. Yes, you can make a movie that's all vibes. You've talked about movies like that here before, but this movie is commenting on the themes that type of vibe creates. And I think it's so meta that it's ridiculous that I'm like, wow, you could comment on something that we are as a society that people don't really have any commentary for yet. And this movie addresses that commentary.
So with the heavy-handedness, I think we have to talk about Gordy's home.
Yeah,
right.
We have to.
That's how we start the movie. We get this sequence maybe about 30, 45 minutes in when OJ is trying to make a deal to retrieve these horses. And later on, we learn the horrible fact that these horses have been bait for this creature the entire time. We get the story of what happened. And I don't think we need to break it down like second by second.
Correct.
But when he was a child actor, he worked on a show that had a monkey. The monkey lost its shit one day, killed a few people. He was a survivor, and now he's exploiting this story. He's also exploiting our creature the same exact way. Like, it's seriously so simple. I don't understand how anyone could have missed it.
I do, and we say that because
no offense.
We know that one of the Paul
Peace and
brothers.
love,
I don't even know which one it is because I don't keep up with it. But one of the Paul brothers was
the
having
one who
little
filmed the
issues.
dead body.
Was having
that
little
one.
issues as to what the connections were in this film. And I don't like to think we're geniuses, but this seemed a little obvious to me from the get go on what the message of
Maybe
this
he's
film
getting
was.
CTE from wrestling now that he's joined
Possibly.
the WWE.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I don't, like, obviously. But I thought it was very interesting that we get this. Yes, it gets shown in the film, by the way. All this is like what the monkey does. And I think it's one of the most horror-driven type of imagery that you can see.
This is probably the scariest part of the movie.
Yes.
No?
That's where the horror elements kind of like... I mean, you guys can imagine a monkey just butchering up a human body and just losing its shit. But we also get scenes where it seems like Steven Yeun's character got lucky and Gordy, the monkey, just kind of like made a connection with him, you know, and it was maybe because he was a child and he was a little more innocent. He wasn't necessarily the reason exploiting him. But what I liked is that he learned nothing from this. And it has trauma that he's still in the middle of the movie. You see him looking into the mirror and he just is thinking about this. And I think that's so well shot. And it's, what does he do next? Put on the cowboy suit and let's go do this with the alien. And knowing that...
Let's exploit the alien the same way we did Gordy.
Let's exploit the alien the same way we exploit the alien. And I thought this was a very good touch because in the trailer, it makes you to believe that this might be going somewhere else. We see this lady whose face is fucked up. Just kind of like... It's kind of like... you know, looking up. And then when you watch the trailer, you're kind of like, that's got to be one of the aliens or something. And then you kind of find out it's one of the ladies that Gordy fucked up that somehow survived.
Yeah.
And so her face is obviously very, very, very fucked destroyed from having a monkey basically bite at it and rip it apart. Yeah. And she is still there to witness spectacle. The Steven Yeun's character is putting up with another being that it's being taunted by doing the same thing.
She's being used as a way to sell this thing.
Exactly. And she learned nothing basically either.
So I saw that Michael Wincott, the guy who was the cinematographer, that he mentioned that he kind of saw Steven Yeun's character like Siegfried and Roy, where it's like we all go to the tiger show because we think that the tiger might bite their ass.
Yeah,
you know
I'm here for that. And that's why people were going. Be like, I want to see this UFO, but I want to see it do the craziest stuff I can see.
I don't want to just see it. I want to see it suck a horse into the sky, right?
What is that, right?
And we get one of our most chilling scenes in the entire film. Like, I really do. I wouldn't say I feel bad for Steven Yeun's character because he's an exploiter, but this guy has it so rough. He's witnessed two horrible things that I guess you could argue he plays a big part in creating these situations. Correct. But dude, that scene of the people all getting sucked up into the UFO is just one of the scariest things I've seen in a long time because the sound design.
Yeah. And it's the fact that, like we're talking about, it looks like the UFO has a mouth and you see the inside of it just swallowing stuff up. And like it just...
That was gross.
Right? It just looks like I don't
even know what to call it.
Yeah. Honestly, be like, I don't want to get a little bit
too graphic
here. Yeah. It looks like a certain part of a female's body, and that's the only thing I can think about, like the insides when they were going up it, like in terms of like how tight it was and having to go up like a canal, like a flesh canal.
It's season 3, episode 1 of The Boys. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about if you've seen it.
It's just again, it's this ship is a living organic being, and it has moving parts in it. You know?
Yeah. So even when that happened, I still wasn't expecting the big reveal later of like, it changed.
It does not fuck with flags, apparently, right?
No, plastic is undefeated.
It messes up. Yep. Yeah. Even doesn't matter what planet you're from, plastic will fuck you up.
Just like it reminds me of it, that's the trope of all the great UFO films. I'll kill you with a cold.
Yep.
Let me give you a cough on War of the Worlds and destroy these planet-destroying aliens.
Oh, you didn't account for the colds, you moron.
Yeah, the thing. Boo, you froze to death.
Exactly. Yeah. It got a little too hot for you.
Yeah, exactly. You're like some aliens, huh?
Yeah,
you're advanced.
Exactly. But that is your typical sci-fi trope. So we get that reveal, right? So now everything is about capturing the image still.
Yeah, that's really what the big thing is in this movie. That's the mission.
So Keke Palmer and Daniel Kaluuya's character, OJ and Emerald, they are now confirmed that this thing is actually out there. I mean, I did really like that the cloud plays such a like that cloud never moves, you know, and I did really like that that's where the alien entity was hiding. Basically, I like that the way the Imax cameras basically capture this is where something from not a planet Earth would be sitting, you know, right outside of LA, just kind of sitting, observing, just waiting for the right moment to take up some horses or whatever it is that is. And I mean, that's something that I still kind of debate on, like, what is its purpose though for being here? And that's not revealed because we wouldn't understand what its purpose is.
Yeah, right? It doesn't feel important.
It doesn't.
It just feels like it's just happening. Like, and that's one of the Jordan Peele things. It's like it's just happening. It's like these big world-ending events, but they feel so small and insignificant.
Why are they
kind
taking
of.
black people's souls? They just are.
Yeah.
Because they want to be more creative.
Yeah.
Why are they tending people under the earth?
That doesn't
There
make
just
sense.
is.
Just go with it. Yeah.
In this world, it does. Okay?
Yeah, exactly. But one thing about that cloud that we see throughout the movie, going back to the interview I read with the designer, he said since it was an organic creature that it creating like a vapor cloud is very realistic of something that any kind of alien creature could do. Like, yeah, like that's not that unbelievable that a being could create vapor from its body to disguise itself
As a cloud.
Yeah. So that's one of our big indicators from the very beginning that something's off about this, where I've seen all types of theories. It's like, oh, is this a simulation? Is this in the past? Are the people actually the aliens? But I feel like that vapor cloud is one of the, like, that's what you're supposed to be looking at, not everything else.
Oh, they say it in the movie, right? Or it could be aliens, or it could be us from the future trying to stop us from doing the stuff which is just, that's what I mean. Like, it's just meta on that, like, conspiracy shit, you know, and I love it. I'll eat it up because I don't think that tinfoil hat, but I love hearing people who have a lot of points to try to convince me that this is
I just want to hear it, dog.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I believe you.
Exactly. But I mean, that's where they finally get a cinematographer to come out, and we get him, like, he built a camera. He doesn't even need a battery, which I think is one of the coolest fucking things.
Hand-cranked Imax camera.
Hand-cranked Imax camera, which is just one of the coolest things I've ever read. Actually, I guess I wanted to go back a little bit we find out kind of like the type of powers that this UFO has, right?
UAP.
Yeah, UAP.
They're changing the names.
So we don't question it.
Yeah.
But I talked about it with you before. Like, there's in the trailer, there's a scene where the house is just getting rained on. And
Yes,
like
I'm so glad you
blood.
remembered to bring this up.
And like, that scene is just, I was telling Gus, I just wish it wasn't revealed in the trailer, because it is the culmination of a perfect The Shining and Spielberg type of like shot. It's just like, this is what blockbusters are made for. This is why we shot this on IMAX. This is why this is going to be something that'll linger in your brain for a long time. This scene that an alien could do this to your house, and it's unexplainable. But the fact that it's shot at night so perfectly, like the night shots in this movie are so clear, and I just think it's such a standout shot that I just wish it wasn't in the trailer for it to just be something that people could appreciate more.
So, you know, he's in this like Spielberg moment, right, of creating these epic things that we'll remember forever. But he's also become one of these like self-acclaimed masters of horror. Like, I mean, he literally calls himself that now. So you had brought up, and I thought this was such a great point, that in the Shining trailer, they don't reveal the elevator coming out of the elevator blood scene, right? And I felt like this was that moment, right? And you had put it so perfectly. Like, if he hadn't done that, it would have been one of the greatest reveals in many, many years.
Yeah.
And I had never even thought about it because it's so prominent in the trailer. Like, I've seen it 15, 20 times, you know? But it just really hit me when you said that. That was like, imagine if they hadn't revealed that, how excited you would have been when it happened. Like, what the fuck is going on, dude?
Yeah, just because it's the culmination of everything The Exorcist creates, that ambiance, and then the not understanding of The Shining, but then the grandiose of like Encounters of the Fourth Kind. That like these are
Close
not
Encounters
Close Encounters of the Third Kind. These are not friendly people. And these are horror-based type creatures that we don't understand their mission. And I just wish like that scene wasn't as highlight. I think they should have saved that scene.
Yeah, definitely. It's because it's one of the better moments in the entire movie, which is filled with nothing but great moments.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Getting off track a little bit. I thought like the pacing of this movie was fantastic.
Yeah.
I thought it was the perfect length. I do think the end. It's not that it drags on, but it definitely kind of hits the brakes and is like, no, we need to acknowledge that this is the big special finale.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, it doesn't skirt past it at all. Like, no, we are fully in this moment when it's happening.
That's when it reminds itself that it is not a real life story, and there has to be a conclusion this day to what is going to happen.
No, this is only a 3-day thing.
Yeah. And like we're gonna tell you heavy-handedness at the end what the theme of this movie is and what exactly it is that you should be taking away after watching this movie.
Yeah, I think I love the Akira shot of Keke Palmer riding the bike. That's amazing, right? So in our climax, before we get off the movie altogether, we have and this is another one of those really striking images. We have a guy on a motorcycle wearing a mirror helmet, holding what looks like a Super 8 kind of, or what kind of camera does he have? I don't remember, but I just remember thinking that the camera looked a little different than
I think he had like some type of, I'm not sure if that was the camera, but he had like a speed gun type thing.
It didn't look like it was an electronic camera, huh?
No,
Kind of like
sure.
mechanical. We'll definitely talk about spoilers here, but he ends up being a TMZ photographer,
Yeah,
right?
that's
Which is
so
like, here we go
funny.
with the meta-ness.
Yeah.
And the Paul brotherness of it all, which is
TMZ's here.
Yeah, dude. This guy wrecks himself because he hits a force field, right? And he's laying on the ground dying, getting sucked up by this creature, and he's asking Daniel Kaluuya to film it. He's like, please, get it on camera. Get it on camera, please. And I actually listened to a pod about Nope that had a guy who worked for TMZ before, and he was saying that like that's the most realistic thing I've seen in a long time is these guys like, I will die to get this shot, not because I love it, but because TMZ will fucking fire my ass if I miss this. And I did just think that really kind of cements the point home of this movie. It's like, dude, people will die for this shot.
Yep.
You won't even see the recognition for it, but it's this idea that you'll be famous forever because you captured the alien.
And the
on film.
cinematographer does that the same way too.
Yeah,
he wants that shot.
I don't understand how people think he's ridiculous when we have all types of instances of people filming shit when they should be running.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Don't be like,
people
let
standing
me
on-
stop on the freeway to catch this fire real quick that's hopping over freeway to freeway.
Let me record myself on top of the Empire State Building and then
Let me record a dead body in the forest.
The
To be
person
like,
who didn't understand this movie.
it's like the Euphoria meme. It's like, is this play about us?
Yeah. I also thought I wanted to bring up a point that I thought was really, really funny in this movie. Is when they find out that they could record it. He's like, well, what I tell you, he'd make a camera without a battery. Let's go, boy. Let's go. Let's go. Like that's Keke Palmer's character, and I just thoroughly believe she's herself in this movie, and she's so funny to me. I'm so glad that she's finally getting some type of recognition for her just great time in Hollywood. And talking about playing to both sides. Like she used to be on Nick and she had her own show on Disney. One of the first black girls to ever have her own show on Disney. So I do feel like people have been knowing, but not the right people have been knowing.
Yeah, not the recognition hasn't followed the notoriety.
Correct.
And I would argue by the end of this movie that she's like the main character.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? She saves the day.
Yep.
Which, how do you feel about that ending? Like that this thing could be taken out by a plastic blow-up doll.
Again, I think that's where
This
us
is a
being
movie.
humans. Yeah. Like, well, what it would be unaccounted for. What would it do if a big piece of plastic went in its mouth? Because you can't chew that. It would. You knowing a baby know that a plastic bag is one of the most dangerous things a baby can have, right?
Exactly.
And it's almost like the alien, the same thing. Be like, just put a plastic bag over it.
Plastic is undefeated.
Plastic is undefeated.
And going back to Gordy, you know what set off Gordy? A helium balloon popped.
Yep.
What kills this alien? A helium balloon. So it's like, I don't understand how you could miss it. Maybe you don't like it, but how could you have missed the point entirely? It's like,
Exactly.
it's so laid out for you from the very beginning of the Gordy scene.
I mean, when you walk in the theater, there's the plastic little air guys.
The
what do you
wacky
call it?
inflatable.
Wacky inflatable. Yeah. Those guys become such an integral part to taking down this not of planet Earth
Creature.
creature. So I think that's where it's a movie, it's a spectacle. And the same way that we don't understand how an alien would work, I don't think an alien would account for us wanting to put plastic on this earth. So
Why would you do that?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
they're so advanced, they couldn't even believe that we would do that.
Why would you create something you couldn't dispose of?
You guys didn't patch this in the first when they did the upgrade. You guys didn't patch plastic out of the game.
Like you guys can create buildings, but you guys still make plastic type stuff like that, Like, so I do think it plays on the own meta-ness of we wouldn't know what it would work like, and I do think the conclusion of this, her rushing so much to the well to get the picture, I think that is the big theme that's bopping you over the head that Logan Paul seems to not understand, is that even Keke Palmer, after seeing all this shit happens, the Oprah shot is the important thing, and getting that money and getting people to believe that what they happened actually happened. And
so it's a happy ending because it's a big budget summer blockbuster, but it's kind of, I don't want to say leaves you empty because I didn't feel that way, but it's like, damn, our characters, I don't even know if they actually learned a lesson by the end of this. It just feels like they succeeded and got exactly what they wanted.
Logan Paul learn a
and
lesson
also,
after
it's
the
like
body,
I didn't think they wanted to kill this thing the entire movie. It didn't feel like that. Like they were like, let's just get this shot and fuck off. Like maybe we can sell the ranch and get out of here. But you know, I know the character of OJ wants to stick around and stuff, but because it's his home, you know, you want to defend your home and everything, but it didn't feel like it was going to have such a malicious ending of like this beautiful, majestic creature that is only doing what it knows. At least we think so. And then for it to end like that, I just kind of felt like, ooh, I think this movie was supposed to kind of leave you on a sour note of like, I don't think they learned their lesson by the end.
But I think that's its theme on commenting on culture at the moment. Like, did Logan Paul learn after the whole ordeal with the body? No, like he did it and he's still famous. And I think
even more.
I think Keke Palmer and Daniel Kaluuya's character, had they been real, they would be famous for having a Polaroid of this, which is a Polaroid does not work like that, by the way. I don't understand how a camera from a well like that would be able to take a picture.
That's what I kept thinking too.
Yeah, that'd be such a shit quality picture.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's besides the point. But they would be famous for that and not the fact that they almost died and traumatized and nobody would care what happened to the cinematographer. It'd just be about that there's a notoriety that they captured aliens and they got it and finally a clear picture and that's all they're known for.
Because at the end we see the news crew pull up to Jupiter's Landing, the little theme park that Stephen Yeun runs. And it looks like they're getting ready to interview her. You know what I mean? Because they're like, what just happened? You're the only like a live witness here to tell us what just happened. And, you know, we see that she's okay. We see that OJ's okay. We kind of get this little beautiful brother-sister moment that is it's a callback to something we see earlier in the movie. You know, they acknowledge each other, that they truly see each other.
That's like that reminded me of, I've only seen a couple, but like John Wayne at the end, like the cowboy survived, like, you know, that's Western as hell. Like be like, I'm good on the horse, like I'm here.
It's like Django when he blows up the house and he runs and he's like sitting there on the horse. He's got the cigar.
Yep. I'm like, you're like, we're good over here, you know. And it's just like dust going by, and she's just like smile on her face, like we did it, you know.
I mean I know it leaves me on a sour note, but because it's that big budget movie, like I loved that it had that happy ending.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, the same way with Top Gun, right? Top Gun, we get our happy ending. So I just think that's what a blockbuster is. It has to come full circle because a blockbuster is seen by most people, general audiences. General audiences don't necessarily want your artsy type of ending, your A24 character looking straight at the camera. What the fuck just happened? No. Like they definitely have
shit, this movie just started, ended. So
so
you don't want to get Crimes of the Future.
So I think that's where, and not to say that this wasn't what he wanted, I'm just saying that that's just the trope or the full circle of movies that are blockbusters.
I think he made exactly what he set out to do. And I don't think I mean, I would love to see an extended cut because I want to know more, but
obviously
I think this is a stamped final product with seal of approval. It's like this is ready to go out into the world.
Yeah, I believe so.
So I think overall we covered as much as we could without Nate. So I want to talk about what do you think's next for Jordan Peele? Like, what would you like to see? Would you like to see a Nope sequel? I know that that's been tossed around a little bit. Maybe that the alien didn't die, or that there's more of this species, and maybe they, like a wasp, you kill one and they send out the pheromones and you pissed off all the other ones.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Would you like to see a sequel, or what do you? And if not, what would you like to see next from Jordan Peele?
I don't think I would need a sequel for this, just because. Jester's question.
What about a legacy sequel in 20 years?
Yeah, exactly. I'll take that in 20 years. But no, I don't think I'd want a sequel for this. I think I like that he's doing his own stuff. I like that I don't know what he's doing next. I like that he has his own ideas in his head. I like that he seems to be very focused on original ideas. He said he doesn't really interested in picking up any Marvel or stuff like that. Not in a negative way, but I do think that whatever he's doing right. And I like that from us to Nope, I had no idea what was coming next. So whatever it is that he's doing, I just hope that he keeps going into it. I would obviously like this is his first one. Kind of went into sci-fi a little bit.
Yeah.
I guess
Well,
I'd
you
want
could
him.
say Get Out has sci-fi
True.
elements.
That's true. Yeah.
Because it's like Frankenstein shit, like putting your soul into someone else's body.
Yeah, it's true. Like
It's there. It's a small ingredient in all of
Correct.
his movies.
So I guess
Us, what the hell's going on there too? That's got to be some kind of
some
sci-fi,
sci-fi
shit.
stuff. Yeah,
Like
to be
Invasion of the
able
Body
to-
Snatchers or something like
Correct. You're right. So I guess, it would be more just keep doing what you're doing. Honestly, it's one of those situations where I couldn't possibly think I know better than this man on what he think he should be doing or not. I think he's such a perfectly curated list. Like we're talking about, like he didn't decide to direct Black Klansman. Spike Lee directed that, and it's like.
So okay, so you obviously we want him sticking around doing more horror shit, but do you have like do a Frankenstein movie, do a vampire, like
That's
an
true.
original thing,
That's
like you know
true.
what I mean? Like, do you have a certain subgenre you'd like to see him do?
Werewolves. I want a new werewolf movie. I want a good new werewolf movie. American Werewolf in London being the last good werewolf movie is not okay.
Yeah,
We have
that'd be tight. That'd be tight. And I know he'd do something fresh because we kind of forgot to get to this earlier, but like the inspirations for this movie and stuff. What I will say is that I would like to see him go even bigger. Do the biggest
Yes,
thing.
correct.
Do something like Gravity, where it's like, damn, this looks like a shot in space. You know what I mean?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Do something like Dune. Like, dude, take that notoriety, take that bag that you have right now, and just maybe you'll blow up after this one and come crashing back down to earth. But I need to see the biggest Jordan Peele movie possible because I know that this isn't it yet.
Give me a colony on Mars, like a horror movie about a colony on Mars.
Sick. But speaking of the inspirations for this movie, and I will tie it back into what we're talking about, is we talked about Jaws, 2001, Alien,
No Country
No
for Old
Country
Men.
for Old Men for the Western aspect of it, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. So although he does these original things, he finds the inspiration from many, many popular mainstays that are like things that we've always thought about, right? Or movies that we always think about. So I do think, like if you said, like if he did a werewolf movie, it's like, dude, I think there's enough there for you to come and like dig something out that's like, this is the best possible werewolf
Correct.
movie I could make. So you had mentioned to me off pod too. It's like Kubrick used to make a lot of movies that were based off of books, but Jordan Peele makes movies that are made off of other movies.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I can't wait to see what he's been watching lately because we will most likely see it in the next movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Of like, okay, damn, he must have been on this type of vibe lately of like, maybe he watched hella werewolf movies and was like, I could make this sick.
Like, I hope he watches Van Helsing and it's like, I should remake this.
Here we go again with Alvaro and his Van Helsing. So overall, what do you rate it? I mean, you obviously recommend it, right?
Yes, highly recommended. Jordan Peele is on the Mount Rushmore of this pod for a reason. Highly recommended. I think if you can or are able to, healthy enough, please watch it in the movie theater. Support this. It's gotten a lot. I think so far right now it's the second leading horror movie with the most most revenue and like it's
Yeah, he
showing.
keeps one-upping himself. Like every time he puts out a movie now, it's like, oh, this is the highest grossing opening weekend for an original horror
originals.
movie.
Yeah, like that for sure. And I meant in the year because I think The Black Phone has made 110 million.
Oh, damn.
So then this is like the second horror movie of which I just think is a big dub for horror.
Yeah.
To finally have movies that are getting that much
Mainstream
audience. And I just really think that personally this is more of what I want to see in Hollywood and more of what I want Universal to know that what we want.
It's like, bro, you can make good big budget movies. Like this is the most movies that a movie could be. Do this, do more of
most
this.
movie, and I feel like this is for the pod, or at least me and you, like heavy Universal fans. So be
Yes.
like, please bring back the classic monsters and like let's redo these right. Let's make these really good movies. There's obviously a reason why all of the, like we're talking about the Werewolf and 2022. I'm bringing it up because yes, that's a classic, but this movie needs to be redone already.
Yeah.
So highly recommend this movie. Highly recommend Jordan Peele's all of his movies. I gave this, I guess, on Letterboxd out of 5. I gave this a 4.5. Every time that I talk about it more, I kind of realize how much more I like these movies. You know, so yeah, I highly
He's 3 for
recommend.
3.
Yeah,
Untouchable right now.
definitely 3 for 3. And the only other person that's like that is Eggers. And we'll see about Ari Aster. But those are all on our
he seems like he's ready to crash and burn right
Yeah,
now with the Disappointment Boulevard.
I don't know about that. That's pretty ballsy because if he pulls it off, be like, damn, he's really 3 for 3. I did not think that, but we'll see. Julia Ducournau's 2 for 2. So
yeah, for sure. Overall, I would rate this like I think I gave it a 5. I'm pretty sure, and if I didn't, 4.5, 5 range. I've only seen it once, but the more I think about it, the more I love it. We were talking about today, possibly maybe seeing it later, and if we don't do it today, I'm sure we'll probably see it again.
Correct.
But I need to see this in the movie theater. And I've seen it in IMAX, but even if I can see it in just a regular theater, I just want to see this again on a big screen. Jordan Peele, goated, honestly, dude. I think this is a special time of leading a new generation. I really think this movie has solidified him as you are that guy, pal.
He's just like, we've talked about this, and you're very, very big fan. The similarities between Steven Spielberg are they're just spot on in terms of even the studio giving him that confidence from.
I think he's channeling a lot of what other people do with Spielberg, but that he is even elevating it to past what something like Stranger Things is, or I don't know. And insert here anyone who's inspired by Spielberg. Correct. I feel like he is he's taking the right things from it and also elevating it to an even higher level.
He also has such a not unfortunately, but it's the realism of this country is that to have a black man that's from comedy be able to direct movies from their perspective is something we haven't had. So we have a unique perspective from Jordan Peele, a person who is, his skits to me on Key and Peele show are still funny. So, it's like,
honestly, the only other black director who's working on this level is someone like Ryan Coogler.
Exactly.
And he's kind of trapped in the Marvel world right now, so we're not, he's not being as touted as he should, but he's also someone who's on this level. And we were so close with Ava DuVernay, but then she made a Wheel in Time or whatever that movie's called. Yeah. I can't remember because I did read it in school, but I can't remember what it's called. She made that, and that kind of tanked her entire career. Yeah. She was supposed to make a DC movie. She was supposed to be like one of the next big budget visionary filmmakers, and I just feel like Jordan Peele is kind of a one of one right now.
She's a little too active on social media as well, detrimenting her takes or people wanting to be. But Jordan Peele famously just puts a guy down for wanting to compare him to being the greatest horror director of all.
Put your phone down, buddy.
He was like, I will not take John Carpenter disrespect. And
but
I just think
that guy had a really hot take that he shouldn't have said yet. But he's on the right track. Yes.
I don't think
give me
he could be wrong.
2, 3, 4 more movies.
Yep.
Be like, and he's not wrong.
I don't think so. I think that's what I mean about humble King Jordan Peele, knowing that he still has a love for John Carpenter, but Jordan Peele's career has started hotter than John Carpenter's career.
Yeah. Bro, I felt like when I saw that tweet, I felt like the meme, and it's like me seeing someone get roasted for the takes that I agree with. It's like,
oh no.
Where I'm like, oh, okay, I won't say that, but I do believe you. I also agree with that.
Russell Westbrook eating the sandwich in the corner.
You'd be like, oh yeah, he's definitely right, but I won't say that out loud. So that takes us to the end of our episode. We miss Nate dearly. I can't wait to hear what he thinks about this, and hopefully, and maybe we can find a way to present you what he thinks about this.
Hopefully, we'll just give him a 20-minute rant in the next episode for us, and just let him go on.
Yeah, did we? We said we were going to mention it, but I don't know if we did. That we are doing Jordan Peele's filmography backwards.
Because the same way that we have love for Robert Eggers, as we've stated, being on the Mount Rushmore. Jordan Peele is definitely worthy of almost having a whole month to himself.
Yeah.
So we hope to be able to do Us after this. That's the scheduled plan. Obviously, we plan to follow it and Get Out after that, which I think you made a good point that Get Out still seems to be the most critically acclaimed it could be critically acclaimed. And for me, there's still parts of that movie that are just so funny that I still think about all the time. So I can't wait to just go backward on it.
Yeah, I definitely can't wait, because for someone's first movie to be that acclaimed, it's like people talk about it like it's The Godfather or The Dark Knight or something like that, where it's like, oh yeah, this instantly jumped into the top 10 on IMDb or something like that. And I just can't wait to keep talking about Jordan Peele. So, thanks for checking back in. Hit all the buttons. You already know the deal. If you want to find us, you'll find us.
Correct.
Nate, we miss you. We love you. And we can't wait to continue with the Jordan Peele-a-thon. So see everybody later.
See ya.